From Nerd Immersion here, and it's the 16th of March, therefore Candlekeep Mysteries is now available in the wild and on D&D Beyond. Because of that, that means we're able to sort things on D&D Beyond to see new magic items, new monsters, and so on. So as such, I'm going to be covering those. This video is going to be all about new magic items. But before we dive into that, I want to talk to you about the sponsor for today's video, Extra Wallet. Now, if you're familiar with, been around on YouTube, you've probably seen Extra Wallet going around, and you see a lot of people talk about the really cool features of it. It's a cool leather, high quality leather wallet. It's compact compared to like a traditional wallet, and it's got the really cool fidget helpful button here that you press, and it allows you to access all of your cards. It looks like we've got right here 5 cards. You might be able to fit a 6th one in there. This could be your credit card, debit card, driver's license, and so on. It also, who carries cash at this point? So really quick access to your cards is pretty much all you need. And you could only, if you wanted, put 1 card in there, but it's going to fall out. So you're going to want to keep this packed with at least the 5 cards. If you do, for some reason, happen to carry cash, you have this little kind of money clip band here, which also could be used to stack other cards in there if you want. And it has kind of a couple pouches on the side here and 1 on the back. Now, everybody talks about that. They also talk about how it's an RFID-proof wallet where you can, it'll protect it from RFID scanning. So if you're worried about identity theft and things like that, that's good. But something that no one really seems to talk about is this. This is a slightly thicker than a credit card tracking device that you can throw into your wallet in any one of the little spots there, and it basically allows you to GPS track where this is. Also, if you're prone to losing your wallet in your household, that would be great. And all you have to do is open up an app, right, on your phone, and there's a little button here that says Ring to Find, and it starts ringing it. You just hit the button and that stops. You can change the ringtone. You can use Google or Alexa to say like ring my wallet or call my wallet, and it'll do this and it'll ring it. And also what's super cool is this is a solar panel. So that's how this thing charges. You leave this thing out in the sun for like 2 hours and you're good to go. Yeah, there's no charging ports or anything like that. And I think this is really cool. The app is free. So there'll be a link in the description below that'll allow you to go ahead and pick up an Extra Wallet. It'll also apply a discount code to it. And if you go through that, it'll help support me and the channel. Considering the fact we're doing Candlekeep Mysteries and there's lots of lost things and lore and hidden things, I thought a wallet with an RFID and GPS tracker would be a good fit for this video. Thank you, Extra, for sponsoring. Let's jump over to Candlekeep Mysteries, where I have sorted here on D&D Beyond the magic item section by source of Candlekeep Mysteries, which is going to let us see all of the magic items contained in that book. But more importantly, we're going to just sort through these and find the new magic items. So right off the bat, you're going to see a blue alchemy jug and an orange alchemy jug. I don't actually know what adventure. That's one thing I would like to see in things like this, like a page number, because I don't believe it actually tells you where it is. Oh, no, it does. Okay. It does say it tells you page 144. So you can track exactly where it is in the book. It's just on the quick pick, you can't really see it there, the quick little description. So if you want to look through it, you can. Also, I guess I should say spoiler alert for Candlekeep Mysteries. If you didn't figure that out, we're going to be talking about the magic items, so this may ruin your fun if you're planning on playing it. But if not, feel free to continue watching. So they're blue and orange, so I immediately am drawn to Portal in my mind, but they are slightly different, both of them, than the traditional alchemy jug, which the one found in either the Dungeon Master's Guide or the Basic Rules has 10 different liquids that can be expelled from the alchemy jug. The 2 that are missing from the blue and orange version are acid and basic poison. The blue one has 1 of those dropped completely and 1 replaced with boiling hot tea, a quart of boiling hot tea. And the orange one has 1 of those replaced with a gallon of soy sauce. So we have a cracked drift globe next, which is it says right here, it's a traditional drift globe, but cracked, so it can only emanate the light spell as opposed to daylight and other things. Then there is a regular drift globe, but we're going to just be talking about the new magic items. So next up is the Gloves of Soul Catching. This is my favorite magic item, or at least one of my favorite magic items from this book. It's contained in the Inner Alchemy adventure, and it's a legendary item that requires attunement, and while it doesn't necessarily need to be given to a monk, it seems like it fits the best. And if you know that adventure, that kind of makes sense, right? So it sets your Constitution score to 20. which is amazing because everybody needs Constitution. And I also think about it like if you're a monk, you're probably prioritizing dexterity and wisdom. So Constitution is your third score typically. So this would be huge for someone like that. And then after you make a successful unarmed strike while wearing these gloves, you can use the gloves to deal an extra 2d10 force damage to that target, and you regain a number of hit points equal to the force damage dealt. Alternatively, instead of regaining hit points in this way, you can choose to gain advantage on one attack roll, ability check, or saving throw you make before the end of your next turn. Some things to note there, it's legendary, so that makes sense, right? But there's no limit to the amount of times you can do that unarmed strike and heal, and you heal the full amount of damage that you deal. You are also a monk, in my mind. Again, I keep saying that because in my mind, this is going to a monk. But let's say you are playing a monk or an unarmed fighting fighter. But as a monk, you're going to routinely probably be doing 4 attacks with Flurry of Blows, at least 3. And if you're focusing on unarmed strike, you could be doing 3 to 4 unarmed strikes a turn, doing an extra 2d10 force damage a turn, and then healing 8d10 force damage a turn if you hit with every attack, and could potentially be healing for 8d10 force damage or force points worth of damage every turn, or giving yourself advantage on your subsequent attacks to try and proc a crit. And it's you gain hit points back to the number of force damage dealt. So if you happen to do crit, you could be doing 4d10 force damage, and then you would heal that entire amount. This is awesome. It's the closest thing we've seen in my mind in 5th edition to a true monk magic item. And I would like to see more things. I understand the concept of allowing anybody to do unarmed strikes. This allows if you want to be an unarmed focused barbarian or fighter or something else, it allows you to do that. But I think you could have made it requires attunement by a monk and no one would have been upset. All right, the Iron Bands of Bolero, those are standard. Next up is the Nether Scroll of Azumar. So if you're familiar with the Netherese and the concept of the Nether Scrolls, this will make sense to you. Another legendary scroll. So unlike most scrolls, this one is not consumed when you read from it, but it functions almost like the various tomes and books where you need to read through them for a period of time over, 8 hours a day over a certain period of time. So I think this is 8 hours a day of concentrated study for 30 days to attempt to understand it. Because normally with those books, like the Tome of Understanding and things like that, you read through them, and if you do it in the time period, then you just get the benefits. So after you complete reading through it, you have to make a DC 25 Arcana check. If you fail, you take 16 D10 psychic damage, and you can't attempt to read it again until another 30 days go by. If you happen to succeed that DC 25 Arcana check, though, your intelligence score increases by 2 to a maximum of 22. You can't increase it again if you try to read the book again, and you have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. That's an always-on thing. And you gain the scroll's benefits. A stone golem, which is pretty powerful, right? Challenge rating 10, magically appears in an unoccupied space within 60 feet of you and acts as your ally. If you die, it turns to dust. We also have an Orcus figurine. It says unknown rarity because I don't know if it's actually typed in the book, but let's see. Carved from an ogre's petrified heart. It is the demon prince of undeath, Orcus. Smells like decaying flesh, and we get the little stats for it. A detect evil or good spell or something similar reveals that it's been desecrated. As long as it has at least 1 hit point, the figurine, not you, it has the following magical properties. Undead within 30 feet of the figurine can't be turned. Dead creatures within 30 feet of the figurine can't be brought back to life. And a creature that holds the figurine while praying to Orcus for at least an hour has a 10% chance of summoning a smoky avatar of the Demon Lord. Once the avatar is summoned, it can't be summoned again for 30 days. It has the statistics of a wraith, except that it's chaotic evil, and it attacks all non-undead creatures it encounters and disappears after 1 hour when reduced to 0 hit points. So not great. Not something you want to be invoking. There's some options, right? Maybe if you're like a necromancer or like an Oathbreaker paladin or something that has access to undead, or you're summoning undead, or anybody who's able to do that, these first 2 benefits, or the first benefit really, that you can't be turned, could be useful. If you're dealing with a necromancer, dead creatures not being able to be brought back, well, it's brought back to life, not brought back to undeath. So really, it's a story mechanic. I don't see it as an item that you're going to be using, but maybe you all have concepts of how this could be useful. Let me know in the description below. Potion of on longevity is pretty standard. Radiance is an unknown. I think this is a wand. Yeah. So this requires attunement by a spellcaster. While holding this wand, you get a +1 bonus to spell attack rolls. In addition, you ignore half cover while making a spell attack. So this is similar to not a wand of the War Mage. And it says Radiance is in the form of an exquisite golden hand mirror, which is pretty cool. While surrounded by darkness, it sheds light in a 5-foot radius. A creature that is attuned to Radiance can use a bonus action while holding the mirror to cast the Enhance ability spell, choosing itself and no other creature as the spell's target once until the next dawn. Right. So this is obviously supposed to be invoking the vainness of looking at yourself in a mirror. Right. You can enhance your own ability, but nobody else's. So it's a Wand of the War Mage, which I don't believe requires attunement, but it gives you enhanced ability once a day, and you just have to be a spellcaster to use it. Saddle of the Cavalier is in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Now, my other favorite magic item is the Serpent Scale armor, which is, in my mind, like, it's a magic item, sure, and it's a magic item in my mind that falls in the same vein as, like, mithril armor or adamantine armor, where it's basically not something like a classification that I wish was changed in 5e, where it's not technically a magic item. The material that it's made out of is magic, which is why it doesn't require attunement. But it's scale mail, right? So that's normally 14 plus your dexterity modifier to a maximum of 2, except this allows you to add your full dexterity modifier. So if you have a 20 dexterity, this will give you 14 plus your full dexterity modifier of 5. So this is armor that would be base scale mail armor that sets your AC to 19. Now, also the detriment of scale mail is it usually provides you disadvantage on stealth checks, right? Dexterity stealth checks. Well, guess what? This one doesn't do that either. So it says this armor consists of a coat and leggings and perhaps a separate skirt of leather covered with overwrapping pieces. Well, this is of overwrapping pieces of metal, much like scales of a fish. I think this is standard language from the player's handbook, but basically, yeah, it says right here it's made from shimmering scale. So this is serpentine scale armor that basically is no dexterity modifier, maximum scale mail that removes the negative for stealth checks. So this is phenomenal, right? If you're playing a medium armor class and you can get access to this armor, your DM throws this in the game, this is for you, right? Like you rangers out there, this would be a great one for you. I mean, if you're a barbarian with not really great dex or con, this could be, or both, and you don't want to go unarmored, this could be huge. I mean, even a cleric, right? This could be great on a cleric too. I love this. I'd like to see more magic items that sort of buck this traditional thing in the future. So that's pretty sweet. Then from the same adventure, I think this is the cylinder one, magic cylinders or whatever it's called, comes the Serpent Fang, which is a long sword. And I like the language here, right? The single-edged magic sword is made from a scrimshawed fang of a giant serpent. Its hilt changes shape to adjust to the grasp of any creature that picks it up. The weapon deals an extra d10 poison damage to any target it hits. So it's just a long sword. It's magic, doesn't give you a bonus to attack or damage, but each swing does an extra d10 poison damage. Solid, very useful early on. Again, we know that a lot of creatures have either resistance or immunity to poison damage, but for those that don't, this is a heavy hitter. Then we have the Staff of Fate, a very rare quarterstaff, which is pretty cool. It's a transparent crystal staff, which is just neat in and of itself, that has a +3 bonus to attack and damage. So it's a +3 quarterstaff. It requires attunement, but not by a spellcaster. So even if you want to be like a monk or somebody else just using a quarterstaff as a weapon, it does +3 to attack and damage right out the gate. But it also has Altered Outcome, which is a pretty interesting ability. 6 charges. As a bonus action, you can expend one of the staff's charges to give yourself or another creature you can see a d4. The recipient can roll this d4 and add the number rolled to one ability check, attack roll, damage roll, or saving throw it makes before the start of your next turn. If this die is not used before then, it is lost. If you expend the last charge, roll d20. This is different too. On a roll of 9 or lower, it becomes a non-magical quarterstaff that breaks the first time it scores a hit and deals damage. On a roll of 10 or higher, it regains a d6 of its expended charges. So that is interesting because it kind of makes you not want to use it, because let me see some things that you might have missed out on that, right? So it's awesome because it doesn't say it gives you guidance or it gives you bless or anything like that. So this would stack with instances of guidance or bless, right? If you give someone this, you give them a D4, right? Which can be used to attack roll, damage roll, which is not something we normally get added to a damage roll. But if you missed that, most staffs and things with charges give you back them on a long rest. If you read this, nowhere in here does it say you get the charges back on a long rest or in the next day at dawn. You only get them back after you've expended the last charge and if you roll a 10 or higher on the roll, right? Because it doesn't say that. So you could use it, as the +3 quarterstaff all the time and then save the use of the, of the expending of the D4s. But yeah, if you expend the staff's last charge, roll a D20 on a 9 or a lower, it's basically useless at this point. And then on a 10 or higher, it gets a D6 charges back, and it only has 6 charges. But yeah, nowhere in here does it say, and I'll click the full details to see, but nowhere in here, and kind of the concept of it being fate-based, do you get the charges back on a long rest. They're just, you use them and then they're gone. We have Stinkys Ring as well, an attunement magic item. While wearing this ring, you can cast the telekinesis spell at will, but you can target only objects that aren't being worn or carried. So it functions like a ring of telekinesis, but it doesn't allow you to cast or telekinesis on creatures, just on objects. But any character who attunes to the ring gains control of Stinky's creations, though the skitter widgets ignore commands spoken more than 30 feet away from them. So in a future video, we're going to talk about the skitter widgets, which are a new construct creature introduced. Well, I don't know if they're new to D&D, but they're new to 5e, and they're introduced in Candlekeep Deconstruction. So you can control the skitter widgets, but only if you're within 30 feet of them. And lastly, the last new magic item is the very rare Watchful Helm. So I also like this a lot as well, because this is something that I've done, and I know other people have done, where you include like a helmet that boosts AC, right? It's not necessarily part of an armor set, but it gives an AC boost, which this does. While you wear this helm, you get a +1 bonus to AC and remain aware of your surroundings even while you're asleep, and you have advantage on perception checks that rely on sight. So this will get around a lot of interesting like nighttime, sleepy time combats. So +1 to armor class all the time, aware of your surroundings even while you're asleep, which is a weird concept. So technically you can't be surprised, I guess, or maybe you can be if they're good at stealth, but you also have advantage on perception checks that rely on sight, and that's an always on thing. That's not just while you're sleeping, that's during the daytime as well. And if that wasn't enough, as a bonus action, you can cast See Invisibility from the helm once until the next, and then it recharges on the next dawn. So there you go, folks. That covers all of the new magic items introduced in Candlekeep Mysteries. There's not a lot, right? We had maybe 20 items at the most, but there's some really awesome ones in there, right? I love, like I said, the Gloves of Soul Catching. Very powerful magic item. So if you're going to be running Candlekeep Mysteries or including one of the Candlekeep Mysteries adventures in your campaign, just be mindful that some of these magic items can do a lot of harm or help to you as the DM or to the party. And then again, the Serpent Scale armor is a real winner for me. I love that. I like that concept. That would make me want to play one of the Ranger concepts that I've been designing, where I could have medium armor and I could be, I mean, that's basically armor that's giving you a 19 AC out the gate, which is great, especially if you're going to be someone that's not using a shield. That's pretty solid to have in general. So thank you again to Extra Wallet for sponsoring this video. Again, there's a link in the description if you'd like to check that out. And if you go pick it up through there, that helps support the channel. Also, I have a giveaway going on where I'm giving away a copy of the base version of Candlekeep Mysteries that you see here, and 2 copies of the limited edition cover. So if you want to get those, check the link in the description. That runs until the 3rd of April. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.